The counseling industry is becoming so popular now, and so many people are trying to figure out how to get into it and what they need to do in order to get into it. The biggest question I hear is, can you practice counseling without a license? Now, my answer to that question is yes and no. I'm Keisha Sandel, your private practice coach, where I help you start from the ground up to build a successful therapy practice. Now, let's get into it. So, do you need a license in order to be a counselor? No, technically, in order to be a counselor, you don't need to have a license. And let me break it down for you. There are people with a bachelor's degree that can utilize this counseling skills in places such as like a foster care agency, a school, or another type of social service agency. So they may have a degree in psychology, they may have a degree in social work or sociology. They actually have enough education and possibly even skills to be able to work with a client, but not as a licensed professional, which means that the skills that they're going to be utilizing, as well as the treatment that they're going to provide, and also the diagnosis of the people that they're going to work with, may be limited. One of my first jobs was actually working with people that were diagnosed with severe mental illnesses. Now, you would think with that type of job, you would actually need to have your license, but technically you did not. I actually got my bachelor's degree in psychology, and so I was able to get this entry-level position as a counselor. This provided a lot of foundational experience for me, and I would actually encourage you to not wait till you get into your master's level program in order to start working in the industry, but to actually get into entry-level positions that's going to help you to hone the skills that you've already learned in your bachelor's program, especially if it was social service related. There's a couple of things that you can learn from these positions. Number one, you can actually learn how to identify and also learn the benefits of psychotropic medication. In a lot of these entry-level positions, the counselors are responsible for making sure that their clients are actually taking their medication as well. So this gives you first-hand experience on understanding a client's diagnosis, the type of medication that they're on, the benefits, the treatment, and the side effects of the medication. So this, I feel, is a major benefit of going into an entry-level position. Next, you get to learn different mental health diagnoses and how they are diagnosed, as well as how they are treated. In most cases, they would have an evaluation that's been done by a psychiatrist or a psychologist, and in that, you would see a whole workup of how the client has presented their issues, their symptoms, the plan that should be worked on in order to help them to meet their goals. This is your first-hand experience to learn how to read, understand, and write this type of documentation. So again, another reason why entry-level positions are the best for people getting into the counseling industry. Lastly, in entry-level positions, you also get to learn how to write notes. Every agency, every company is going to have a different format and or template for the session notes, but this is where you're going to get that experience with knowing exactly how to write a note, what to say, what not to say, what to include, what not to include, where the notes go, where you can't have the notes go. So all of this is learned in these entry-level positions. So some of you guys may be thinking, Keisha, in my state, we can practice therapy without having a license or even a master's degree. Now, I know this is true. It is not in most states, but because I've worked with people that come from different states, I have seen some states actually allow bachelor's level individuals to obtain a license, which means that they have to sit for a test, they have to pass the test, and then they can provide counseling. So that is also to be noted that it's not in every single state, but just like I tell everybody, always make sure that you are checking with your office of professions for your state. Every state is going to have a certain regulation, a certain law that you need to follow, along with certain requirements that you need to have in order to practice counseling. So guys, I'm always about moving forward and progressing in your life and in your career. So I'm not going to just tell you just to stay at the bachelor's level just so that you can provide some type of counseling skills. I want you to move up. I want you to get that master's degree. I want you to get licensed in your state so that you can provide counseling, because we're all about building therapy practices, and you definitely are going to need a license, and mainly a master's level license, in order to go into private practice. So with that being said, make sure you continue to pursue all of those specific requirements that you need for your state in order to practice therapy. Can you provide counseling services without a license? Yes, you can, but technically, if you want to actually have your own private practice or you want to go further in your career, you're going to have to get that license. Take care, Authentic Therapists.